How's it going, everybody? Today we're going to take a look at a build that I just came up with for Nuwa. This build is going to be heavily CDR focused. I think this kind of build works on Nuwa mainly because when you get to late game with Nuwa, you're going to be wanting to spawn her clay minions as often as possible for a few reasons. Her main combo is obviously to spawn the minions and then to shoot out her 3, which will explode the minions and will also stun any enemies who are within a certain vicinity of those minions. So that's a great combo. But the real main reason why I think maxing CDR on Nuwa is very important is because her minions are crucial for her pushing the lane. Now, if you're in a lane, especially late game, and you don't have the wave with you, the minions allow you to aggro the tower instead of having one of the allied gods with you. And you'll notice this if you've played Conquest a lot, you might get to late game and you might take all 3 phoenixes in one sweep. You might take them right in a row, and a lot of times you'll get to one of the lanes where you're trying to take down the phoenix, and you'll see that your wave is way back towards your base. So you have to rely on your tank in order to aggro the phoenix. If you have a Nuwa on your team, though, you don't even need to do that. You can just spawn your minions. So if you are able to max CDR by around the 30-minute mark with her, I think your ability to push the lane late game is just so much better. And also, again, with that combo of the stun and the crazy burst damage which she does off of that combo, I think CDR is very important on her. That being said, you're going to see a lot of builds for Nuwa and other mages that are focused mainly on the burst damage and just maximizing the amount of damage that you do late game. This build doesn't focus on that as much. While it does have a lot of damaging items, it has Soul Reaver and Rod in it, this build, and Obsidian Shard as well. There is going to be a little bit of more focus early game on getting that CDR as early as possible. So within the first 5 items, we're going to max your CDR with this build. So that's really the point of it. If you play mid, you're going to know that mage builds aren't that different. A lot of mages use the same items. Doom Orb is an item that almost every mage is using right now in Season 3. And it doesn't look like that's going to change unless they nerf it or unless another stacking item gets some kind of buff. I'm not sure if anything like that will happen, but right now it seems like every mage is kind of building the same way. So this is a little bit of a mix, mix for Nuwa. Might be a little different from the normal builds. And again, the focus is on getting the CDR maxed by the 5th item. So with that, we'll get started and look at our starting items. So as with most mages, you're going to start with Vampiric Shroud. It's really the only starting item for mages that is viable. Soulstone relies on basic attack stacking, which isn't very useful, especially late game. Soulstone might be an item that you get early and then you might sell it like 3rd or 4th item in your build because it really falls off and it becomes less important. But Vampiric Shroud, the passive on it alone is enough for you to get it because killing any enemy will restore 10 health and 10 mana. That's great. It's so great for that early sustain. At the same time, when you're playing mid, you're going to be most likely playing a mage who also has Vampiric Shroud, so it puts you on basically the same level. It doesn't give you an advantage, but it's something that's kind of necessary for most mages. So start off with that. Then we'll start off, or the second item that we'll do with our starter will be the tier 1 of Doom Orb. This is pretty standard right now in Season 3. It's rushing Doom Orb is great, and if we look at the stats for Doom Orb, it gives you 40 magical power plus 200 mana, 7 MP5. But if you look at the passive, it also gives you plus 2 magical power per stack, and you get 5 stacks per god kill, 1 stack per minion kill. And this gives you a max of 50 stacks. So you can get up to 100 magical power off of the passive, and you can add that to the 40 magical power you get just on the base stats. And we're looking at 140 magical power from Doom Orb. If you look at the item just below Doom Orb, Raw of Tahuti, that is a late game item. It's very expensive. It's over 3,000 gold, and it gives you 125 magical power, plus also with a passive increases your magical power by 25%. But just that base stats is less than the max magical power you can get on Doom Orb. So that's why that item is super important right now. You can get, if you can max your Doom Orb stacks early in the game, your magical power will be pretty crazy, and you can see why the item is so popular right now because of that. So after that, we'll have just 100 gold left in our starter, so we'll have just 1 mana and 1 health pot. Um, that's pretty much how I like to do. You won't have any extra gold left over, but that's okay. You'll start farming, and you don't really need any extra gold from the start. So going into the next part of the builds, so finishing off our second item will be Doom Orb. After Doom Orb, I'm going to be going into Boots of the Magi. These are pretty much the only boots that you would want to use on a mage because they give you more magical power, but they also give you that magical penetration, which is great. So if you're playing against some gods that are building some magical protections early, this will help you a little bit to get that penetration to help get through those protections. And then after that, then our next two items we'll just max our CDR with. So our first item would be Chronos Pendant. This is an item that has been pretty standard in most mage builds since the game has started. Really, it's almost essential. I mean, there are a lot of builds right now that don't use it, so it's not, I wouldn't say it's fallen off, but it's not as important as it used to be. But the cooldown reduction 20% is huge, definitely important on mages to have. A lot of builds in season 2 you would see Chronos Pendant be the second, third item. So it's good, and it's good to get it off early. So that will be the first CDR item, and then after that we're going to go into Breastplate of Valor. Now this will be a purely physical protection item. There isn't any power on this, there isn't any penetration. It's purely defensive, so you're not going to be improving her damage at all with this item, but the cooldown reduction will allow her to spawn those minions as quickly as possible, and will also, now with the 20% off the Chronos Pendant and the 20% off Breastplate, we will now have the CDR maxed at 40%. That's very important, especially when you're getting into late game and you want to be pushing those lanes. You want to have the 40% cooldown reduction with Nuwa. I think it's more important on Nuwa than a lot of other mages, actually. To be able to spawn those minions, I think, is very important. And so after that, we're going to go straight into just full damage. The goal of these items are really to make her ultimate as deadly as possible. So we're going to go into Soul Reaver, which will give you 100 magical power and 300 mana. It will also allow you to take 15% of the enemy's maximum health in addition to the damage that you do on them. So it just stacks up even more damage with it, besides the base stats. So we'll go into Soul Reaver after that, and then after Soul Reaver, we're going to be looking at Rod of Tahuti. These two items, again, are pretty standard right now in most mage builds. They have been for a while. They just give you a huge magical power spike. Rod of Tahuti, again, you can see the 125 magical power is great. And actually, hold on, I'm going to change this real quick. We're going to take these two away because I'm making this build a little bit different. So after Breastplate, we're actually going to go into Obsidian Shard. And the reason for that is because this gives you plus 33% magical penetration. The magical penetration is very important, especially now that magical protections seem to be a little bit more popular. With some of the new items that came out in Season 3, I think magical protections are being valued a little bit more. So that means the magical penetration is equally as important. So you gotta have Obsidian Shard on there, and you're also gonna have penetration off the Magi boots as well. So you're gonna get a good amount of magical penetration off of these items. And then after that, then we will go into Soul Reaver. And Soul Reaver is, again, another magical spike item, gives you 100 magical power, and in addition, it will allow you to take 15% of the enemy's maximum health, as I already explained. And you'll see now, if you're looking at the build, each build has 6 items, and Soul Reaver will be your 7th item if you're looking at the total items we have here. So you're probably going to have to sell Vampiric Shroud. You can sell it around your 4th item. You might sell Vampiric Shroud to finish out Breastplate. You also might use it to finish off Obsidian Shard, so that might be a good time to sell Vampiric Shroud, and then you'll have the extra the slot for Soul Reaver. And then very, very late game, if you get to late game with this build, what you're actually going to do, and this is up to you, you can leave the build at that if you want. That's fine. Doom Orb, you'll keep building the stacks, you can keep getting a lot of damage with Doom Orb, but I think late game, it might be a little bit more worth it to sell Doom Orb, and then get Rod of Tahuti, as I said before. Now, this item, because of the passive, I think it just helps you a lot more than Doom Orb will late game. So you're already going to have a lot of magical power with the other items in your build, so you're just going to make it even better, 25% more. You're just going to be huge. So I think it's okay to sell Doom Orb at this point. Don't worry about the stacks. You're going to have the CDR, you're going to have a lot of burst. And then if you add Rod of Tahuti in replacement of Doom Orb, your ultimate is going to hit extremely hard. You might even have health, some people. That's how powerful her ultimate can be once you're getting into the late stages of the game. And so that's pretty much the build. Again, it's to maximize the CDR as early as you can, to get those claim minions going, to push the wave, and to get her stun combo off as well. So I think this is a little bit of an alternative build for her. The biggest change being Breastplate of Valor, and then obviously selling the Doom Orb for the Rod as well. So looking at the relics, we can look at those as well. The main things you're going to be wanting to get on most mages are going to be Purification Beads, and then Sanctuary. You can also get Meditation. I like Meditation a lot, actually. Gives you a lot of sustain early game, but Meditation also gives you team fight sustain late game. So it really, the biggest issue with Meditation before Season 3 was that it was seen as just an early game item, but now that it's actually in Season 2, this item was actually called Salvation, and so the point was to help your teammates gain mana as well, and also some health. So it's good early game and it's good late game. So that's why I think they changed Meditation from being just early game focused to being throughout the game now with the change. So you can get that as well. And then other than that, whatever you want, Sunder is pretty fun. It's basically just a line of damage. It does I don't even know what the stats are. 40 true damage plus 14 damage per god level. So this can be really, really strong late game. And the cooldown isn't too bad. It's 2 minutes. That's a lot better than a lot of the other items right now. So it's a pretty good item to have. And if let's say you're chasing a god, you don't have any abilities up, you might have your Sunder available, and you can use that. So I think I'll put Sunder in there. But again, it depends on what you need. You might need Sprint. You might need Teleport for some reason. I don't really think I'd get anything else on her. I wouldn't get Blink. I don't think there's any need for that, but I think Sunder is a good kind of fourth option for her. So that's my build. That's my max CDR, early CDR build for Nuwa. Let me know what you think of it. If you have any questions about the build, if you're a Nuwa player, if you like Nuwa as much as I do, let me know how you build her, how you play her, what your strategies are, and if there are any other gods that you would like to see some maybe alternative builds for, let me know in the comments. And I thank you very much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.